Hello friends, and welcome back to Deeper Things. We are right smack dab in the middle of the 2021 Olympics, and today I want to look at one of those Olympians because I think there's an amazing lesson about the difference between quantity of faith and the quality of faithfulness. So thanks for being with me today. We'll jump right into it right after the break. So amidst all of the athletes at this year's Olympics, there's one specific athlete I want to raise out today. Her name is Allyson Felix, and let me introduce her. Well, actually, might as well just let her introduce herself.
I'm Allyson Felix, and I'm a follower of Christ.
As you can tell, Allyson is very outspoken about her faith. Her grandfather was a very notable pastor. Her father is a seminary professor. She is very engaged and active in her own faith, but she's not just a Christian. She is a world-class Olympic athlete. She already has 9 Olympic medals to her name. She's in the running for 3 this Olympics. If she wins 1 more medal, Allyson Felix will be the most decorated woman Olympian in all of track and field history. But as you can imagine, Allyson didn't come to this place of historical prestige on accident. In fact, just 100 days before the Rio de Janeiro Olympics, Allyson sprained her ankle so badly that some thought she might not ever be able to compete again. But after her persistence and determination in training and in recovery, she was not only able to compete at the Olympics, she was among the fastest runners in the entire world. She's on record for saying that her faith drives her forward. In fact, she says this:
My faith definitely helps me to stop being so results driven. I think you always want to look at a race and say, if I didn't win, it wasn't a success, but I think there's so much more to it than that.
And this, I think, is really interesting because Allyson lives in a world that is purely quantitative. You're either faster or you're not. All of your worth as an athlete is measured by your quantitative performance. This is the very temptation that Christians have regarding faith. We sometimes believe that having more faith will result in us being able to see God work in more miraculous ways. What might come to mind is that quote when Jesus said that just faith the size of a mustard seed is enough to move a mountain. Well, you might think to yourself, if only I had faith that was bigger than a mustard seed, how much more things could I see happen in my life? And yet, as people of faith, Allyson has something to teach us. That faith isn't quantitative. Ultimately, it helps us redefine what our life as Christians should be, not give us a tool that we can leverage to make our life better than what we thought it would be otherwise. In fact, Allyson once said this: I think a lot of times you want faith to be the answer to everything, and it's still a struggle to get there. There are very real moments that are hard, but I think that it helps me to be able to learn the lesson that there is a purpose, a reason why maybe that happened, and it can create something in you, and it might be preparing you for something better in the future. Faith is not quantifiable, but rather something that God does within us by the power of the Spirit. Maybe we should move away from the idea of having faith to the idea of being faithful. When Allyson found herself injured, she didn't throw in the towel and say, well, I didn't have enough faith and maybe God didn't want me to do it. But rather she realized that her task as Christian wasn't to acquire more faith so that life would seem better, but rather be faithful even in those seasons where life seemed to be so challenging. This small frame changes everything, because it transforms us from people who are always trying to acquire more of something that seems in short supply, instead of redefining our lives to make our very identities rooted in that idea of being faithful to God's work in us. It's not about what we've achieved or gained in our lives of faith, but rather the daily commitment to be faithful to the one who promises to be with us. And this is essential because it transforms us from people who are tossed to and fro by the difficulties of our lives to those who have a clear-cut and daily commitment and purpose to the work that God is doing in us. Allyson says, I'm currently a work in progress, and like anyone else, I face struggles every day. My goal is to be more Christ-like each and every day, and that's not an easy task. I know I'm trying to be something different from some of the other Olympic runners, and after I run, I hope that people can distinguish in me a Christ-like character in the way I present myself. I think that this is a beautiful summary of what we as Christians aspire to. Allyson is doing this from the very height of Olympic competition. She is literally in the running for the most decorated female track and field athlete of all time. And yet she recognizes the daily call as Christian to be faithful, to live into our identity as Christians, and therefore to recognize our own weaknesses, our own failings, but working through those to be fashioned and formed in the very character of Christ. She says it so well, the end goal is that others might see in us that very character at work, that our lives and actions, our choices and words would reflect this faithfulness and this faith-filledness in Christ's work for us. I don't know about you, I'm going to be rooting Allyson on as she goes to get that next medal that will put her over the top. If you want to see that, the final women's 400 meter will be on Friday, August 6th. It's going to be at 8:35 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'll drop down in the comments how she does when she races that race. Friends, I hope that you're encouraged to know it's not about the quantity of your faith, but it is about the quality of your faithfulness. That you commit to be faithful as God has been faithful to you. And in that work, you will experience the depth and life of the Christian faith. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like. If you haven't already, subscribe to be part of the Deeper Things community. My name is Michael Guecki, and I look forward to seeing you next time right here on Deeper Things.